So it's been a couple weeks. I've been down in Mexico doing painting and maintenance work on Raven's Wing. The wife's been here with this thing in her yard. I get home, she says, you know, you're really not done. Got some show through of your primer here on the final paint. She's right, this thing needs a third coat, this hull. So I have done a 320 sand here on the beam tops, a little bit on the cabin over above the window there. And it's just warm enough. Tomorrow might be 64, so we're getting it all prepped today. We'll do one more coat here and a couple little touches. On to the next project. So in terms of underway security, the one thing that was bumming me out about this boat was the rudder cassette was a solid back end. So what I've gone ahead and done here is taken the multi-tool, this blade, and carefully made a split down the back of the cassette. You can see it flexing now. Helps the rudder fit a little better. It was very tight before. Now I'm going to sand this back and add some layers of fiberglass on here. And then cross drill it 5 times, and we'll put, maybe 4 times, we'll put plastic bolts in here as breakaways. So if this rudder hits something, it can push up against these plastic bolts, snap them, and pop out if it needs to, hopefully saving the rudder in case of a big impact strike, and certainly alleviating any stress on the gudgeons and the cassette here. So it's an optional thing, I think, to open up the backs of these cassettes. I like it for impact safety. We'll just have to make sure this thing is strong enough to hold the rudder, to clamp it properly when we're sailing hard. So that's this afternoon's little project. I'm going to get back to bare carbon right here and do some adding to it. And of course, while we're at it, you can see it's a little bit funky. We'll do some fairing work because I can't help myself. So we're done putting on the Alex steel. What's left is some non-skid. Ended up doing one final coat over here, and it took care of the show through. Looks great. I'm happy anyway. And then these areas where it's dull is the beginnings of sanding out for non-skid. So this afternoon's task is to tape off, mark the non-skid area, and then sand it all. The masking's still on the windows, just in case, because I will be rolling the non-skid. I don't want to get anything on the windows. Hatch frames came out nicely. Chain plates look good. Net lashing tubes really look integrated now. It's all painted. I'm happy with that. I love how Farrier lined up all of these slanted tail ends. It looks good, I think. It's old-fashioned, 30-year-old design, but it looks nice. You can see all these pads are now waiting for hardware. I have finally purchased everything. So the next couple days we'll start with the holes and the mountings. We're dodging around rain showers, so I keep putting the tarp on the boat, taking it off. Okay, let's take a look at the fittings for the cap shrouds. So these guys slide in here. I'm going to take some 1/2-inch diameter bolts and cut them to create clevis pins to go through here. That's the bottom. Here's the top. Cap shroud will come down like this, and the lashing will go in between there. And I bought these from Caligo, the ones that have the stopper knot capture, so we can have various settings on the tail of the lashing line. You know, it's full max down will be a setting, so we'll pull that in and put it in the stopper, and then say for folding, if the boat needs a little more length on its cap shrouds, pop it out and move it to a looser setting and lock that back in. So that's the advantage of this quick adjust kind. Haven't used them, so I'm eager to try out Caligo's product there. And then for the forestay, I think I already talked about this, but I'll just make an 11-inch loop strop that goes around. Remember, this has been reinforced. It's going to come up through the hole here and capture this ring right about here. So this will be the bottom forestay fitting. This, what I'm holding, replaces the chain plate. and then this guy will come in like this and do the lashing. So when you step the mast, you'll have to bring the lashing line down, go back and forth 4 times, and tie it off and do the half hitches right here in between. It'll take a minute to physically, call it 2 minutes, to set the forestay up, and we'll have marks on the tail of it to know exactly how tight to make it. And that way it'll be adjustable if you want to change the rake of the mast for different sailing conditions. That'll be very straightforward. Okay, time to go figure out where we want non-skid. Tape that off. Next up is putting on the KiwiGrip non-skid. So we have spent the morning figuring out the taping job. Let's go inspect, make sure I got everything. Beams are coming down to here. We're going to leave things like this little area below the hatch smooth. Marked off chain plates, don't want non-skid on that. Non-skid, non-skid. Stepping place, non-skid. Hatch getting non-skidded. Avoid the area where all the lines are. Avoid the primary hardware. I measured to make sure that line is the same as this one. I tried for symmetry out here. Next up is a 120 grit sand to scuff all of this. Some of the floats have been scuffed, but there's still a bunch more to do. So that'll take us up to lunchtime. Oh, I hate taking a perfectly nice, beautiful, shiny paint job and sanding all the top right off. Okay, let's speed things up. Get the big guy out. This is much better because I can float the soft pad right over the edges of the masking tape without ruining that line. Okay, so this thing's going to make this whole job a half hour. Nice. All sanded. And now here at the end of the paint job, I'm going to reveal my top secret dust removal tool. The leaf blower. Thank you to Jenna and Marvin for this clever idea. Better than dragging the air compressor around. This is the KiwiGrip non-skid product I'm going to use. I've just taken the 1 liter bag and squeezed it all into my bucket. Squeegees every last little drop out. Okay. Didn't paint yesterday because I wasn't ready till 2 p.m. And there's a nice chart in here that tells you how much dry time you need. Oh, can't get it out anyway. For these temperature and humidity conditions, I need to be at about 8 hours. So it's 8 a.m. It's going to be a warm day, 70 degrees today. This is fog clears. So I've wiped the dew off. It's time to get going. Yeah, it's not ball tying. Okay, one throw. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, starting out with dog hairs right in the mix, of course. Definitely can control brush marks with this funky roller. I like it. Not sure what chunky here. Ooh, be careful, it's throwing splatter. Don't want splatter on the untaped areas that are supposed to stay shiny. Keep the roller down on the contact the whole time and minimize the splatter. I'm liking the texture. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to come through and wipe down beyond the tape there, because I think there's going to be little splatter dots otherwise. Well, it looks like I'm going much thinner with this than the product Reco sheet, because they say this 1 liter should only do 20 square feet. And I'm going to get the whole boat out of this one package. I'm fine with a little show through of the off-white underneath, because I think this pure white is too stark of a contrast compared to the rest of the paint. I don't really like the non-skid standing out separate. You know, some people think it's safer because your eye sees where to step. I feel that I have put the non-skid in all the smart places, so you don't really even need to be looking where the non-skid is. That's my theory anyway. But this is a fantastic texture, so easy to get. So one of the keys is to hold the roller handle up. It's keeping me from getting smears. If you go low, you start to get the pressure sideways and it skids out and it creates that. See that? Yeah, there's a piece of gunk in there. You just sort of use the eraser and do it again. Okay, here we go. Having a look at the non-skid. It's actually been a couple days of rain here, but I like the surface. I didn't want to disturb this while it was raining. I actually touched it a little bit with the front, and the little peaks were smooshing down from the raindrops. So it's not very sharp the way some non-skids are, but I think that's fine. I like this texture. And also my masking tape was disintegrating when it was super wet, so I've let this sort of dry out. I'm going to go through and feel it all now, give you guys a sense of what it's looking like. The instructions are to peel your tape immediately or wait a couple days until the paint hardens up so it gives a crisp edge. That's fine. And a lot of people like to do all the rounding here, which I did on Ravenswing, and that is very labor intensive. And if you want to repaint it, you got to try to match the line. So I decided on this one, I'm just going to go for straight lines and 90-degree corners. And I'm happy with it, even if you guys don't like it. So that's what's going to be here. That's good. It's coming off cleanly. All right. I'm going to sit here doing this for a while. A lot of tape to pull. Doing this work, kind of monotonous, thinking about what's next. I better get on the trailer. The center bunk needs to be replaced. I'll do that before I put the boat back on. Everything else can wait. To recondition the fenders. The light wiring, probably just redo that. Bearings. Brakes are gone. Converted disc brakes at some point. And just got some stainless steel grommets from Sailrite today, so that will enable me to convert this side of the nets here that used to be a bolt rope style. I need to put grommets on the net so I can attach from here to the grommet. Good little mindless job of punching in about 50 grommets. That'll take a while. I sure say that a lot about this boat, don't I? Oh, this darker blue tape is kind of rotted here in the soaking rain. Some of this is fingernail work. Let's see what this looks like. There's one piece of tape to span between the hatch and the hull. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, that worked. You get to be an artist when you're masked for non-skid. There's no right way to do it. Just whatever you want. There we go. There's the non-skid complete. Got patches where the Harper goes with no non-skid. Here around the mast step. All the deck organizers for the lines that go aft. Around that hatch, forward hatch. Beam tops have non-skid. So with the paint job complete, we're gonna put on the main wing nets. So these are nets. I have two of them that were bought for this boat. They're Sunrise nets, the original suppliers to Corsair. And the prior owner bought these many years ago, and they've been sitting in a box unused. But they do fit this space. It's going to be a little different because my attachment system is different than the old bolt rope. So I've got this temporarily zip tied up here, and I need to go along and mark so I can place grommets in the net right alongside the lacing points. I'll show you what we spent about 8 hours doing so far, which was putting all those grommets in that side and then hand tying all of this. So I've gone with the safe offshore approach, which is to do individual knots. Usually people see that zigzag, one bolt rope or one net rope that laces back and forth. But this is much stronger and safer to have individual lashing. So if any one of these breaks, the neighbors take up any pressure. This net is super tight. This is cool. They had an original system here for adjusting when you fold the boat up, and the net's too tight, it won't unfold properly. So here you just take off some slack during the folding and unfolding process, and then cinch it up when you're ready to go sailing. So we have that on either end. But right now, I don't want to jump too much, but it's just super springy, tight trampoline. So I love the way this came out. I spaced every 4 inches. I should have gone 6 inches. It's overkill, but too late now. I got to match up to the holes in the boat. Here we go. So we've been putting all these grommets on for the past hour and a half. I saved the last one to do with you guys. So I'm using number 2 size grommets, 3/8 inch. This is the hole cutter. That's my mark. I'll leave enough room for the rim to stay just inside that thick bolt rope. We're really having to pound because this is what we're cutting through. It's, gosh, looks like 4 layers of the net, and this black mesh and the outer skin. So it's 8 layers of stuff. I think these grommets are a little small for this job, but we're making it work. So we get the punch through. And then I need to expand the hole as much as possible. So I've got a hole here. Stick the punch through that. There's the widest part of the punch now, pushing the hole edges out. Oh. These are Sailrite number 2 spur grommet 3/8 inch stainless steel 12 pack. My grommet fits the hole. You can see I've deformed my base here a bit. Center up that grommet. And then here's the deflecting tool for the ring. Get my ring, it's got little spikes on the back side. Feel the center, hang on, and punch. See, I've rounded the edges of that guy. just barely grabs with all this thick material. And that's it. So these are ready to tie on, or to match up to the slits in the tubes on the boat. It's getting dark out. We're going to call it a night. That's good progress for the day. The rod that we're going to use inside here is actually some of the old mast standing rigging. So that marks the end of the tube. I'm going to come back in. It's about a 1/2 inch to make room to put a stopper pin in behind that. I'm going to cut it right about there. Right on the outside of that. Run this back in. Perfect. There's room to put a set piece right back here to keep this from sliding out. And so that's what it looks like loose. I'll show you the other side. Once you lace this up, this pulls out tight against the edges of the tubes. Nice. What I didn't put on video was using zip ties to put the net in place temporarily, and then I would cut the zip ties as I went along with the new permanent lashings. So this photo shows zip ties being tossed up on the net as I work my way down the line with the real lashings. Okay, last 2 lashings. I've taken a 2-foot piece of 1/16 Samson Dyneema lashet. This thing's 180 yard, 180 foot, can't remember, roll. 1/16 inch Dyneema. I come through the boat once. Come on. Through the net. I started my lashing just with a bowline all around the ring. There's a reason I want the knot in the middle. Show that in a second. I line my 3 wraps up. Get this in. Some people use a nice little hook system to do this. Actually, this one's a little bit long. I'm going to do one more. Cut that string too long. Now I do my cinching. There we go. Nice. So I start my first hitch just behind the knot, so that knot's going to keep this lashing from loosening backwards that direction. Get my 3 hitches in this way, pull tight, flip the rope over, the tails of my bowline, do my hitch back the other way to lock the lashings together. That's 2. And my last one. There we go. And I'm not going to cut off my tails till after to make sure this thing's all adjusted properly. I've had to go back and loosen up some to tighten up where, so I cinch this too tight and this becomes loose. Been a little bit of adjusting as we go. Yay, last one. Snug it up nice and hard. Behind knot. Pull that tight. These pliers have just the right grip without hurting the line. Tuck under and I'm done. Alright, this net is rock tight. Oh, nice. So the only bummer about this one is the net is actually not really sized properly. It's too big. So I'm up tight here. I've got a little bit of slop right here. I suppose I could try to take another inch or 2 down. I think I will on that side. Because then down here, this is the proper size. But when they cut this, somehow they got this wrong. But I got these for free, so I'm not complaining. Just just is what it is. But it's super tight and strong. Oop. The only creaking is that line, so I'll probably replace that purple with a nice bit of Dyneema. Alright, let's go back and tighten these 3 or 4 up. Try to get some of that pucker. Alright, I got part of an inch out of this one. Help the pucker a little bit. But it is what it is. I think maybe the rest of that can get taken up by tightening that purple lash. I was also able to move this over here. It had been here, but the whole net shifted down like I wanted. So this got back to its proper home. There we go. And now we're officially calling it done. Cool. All right. On to the next project. So I had a friend ask, hey, how come you haven't finished that barn find F25C yet? That thing's going to be fun. Well, it's turned into a ton of labor needed. And this one has to stand in line second behind the big tri down in Mexico. And I've spent the whole winter as executor of my parents' estate, working with my siblings to empty their very packed house of 50 years. So yeah, it's going to be a year-long refit, but I'm happy with the progress, and we'll get her sailing here this summer. And when the boat work calms down, we'll get you guys a video tribute to the elder Carters and their great travels on many an interesting boat. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for synthetic standing rigging build. I've been splicing up a storm over here.